Yo, what's going on YouTube, and welcome to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and today we're going to be taking a look at the latest on the Montreal Canadiens so far in the 2020 free agency, and a look at some of the moves they made so far. We'll be taking a look at that in this video. If you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe down below. Let's take a look at the Montreal Canadiens. Alright, so before we get too far into this video, just want to give a quick plug to our Instagram and Twitter handles at goalline_hockey. Links will be in the description down below as usual, as well as throughout the video. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's take a look at the Montreal Canadiens. As Marc Bergevin, the general manager of the Montreal Canadiens, has been busy this offseason. He had to address some needs. One of them being the backup goaltending situation. They needed to figure out who was going to be behind Carey Price going into next season. The last 2 or 3 years, they've really had issues with a backup goaltender, a consistent backup. They've tried guys, and it just didn't work out. And now they bring in Jake Allen. We'll be looking at that. Scoring issues, they tried to fix that in this free agency, picking up a forward that can score some goals. We'll take a look at him as well as the latest on Brendan Gallagher, who will be returning to the Montreal Canadiens. So, let's start things off. We're going to look at the signing of Josh Anderson, the right winger. He picked up 4 points in 26 games last season with the Columbus Blue Jackets. He has over 100 points in his NHL career. He signed a 7-year, $38.5 million contract with the Habs, $5.5 million cap hit per season. This is a big signing for a guy that really has struggled at the NHL level at points. He's a solid power forward. But in terms of a Domi for Anderson deal, there were other draft picks in this deal as well. I don't know how I like this for the Montreal Canadiens. Marc Bergevin definitely put all his eggs in one basket with Josh Anderson. He's trying to address the issues with their forward group. Again, if you lose Max Domi, you want to add a power forward, so he does exactly that. But with his injury issues, with his concussions over the past couple of seasons, I'm a little bit weary about this deal. So let me know, Habs fans, what do you think of the signing of Josh Anderson to that 7-year contract? Yikes. All right, so now we're going to move on to a little bit more of a positive note on Marc Bergevin's end as we take a look at the goaltending situation being addressed as the Montreal Canadiens signed Jake Allen to a 2-year, $5.75 million contract. That'll be a $2.875 million on the cap hit per season. I like this deal for both sides. Jake Allen gets another opportunity. Things didn't work out so well in St. Louis. Now he gets to back up a very solid goaltender, probably one of the better ones in the NHL right now in Carey Price. So this is good for Jake Allen. He gets another opportunity. Yeah, it wasn't with St. Louis, but there's a good chance for him in a big hockey market in Montreal. And it helps Carey Price out. And especially with the condensed schedule next season that we're going to see, it's going to be a lot tighter, a lot more. We may even see 3 games in 4 nights. We may see a lot more going on in that regard. So Montreal Canadiens, they had to address this issue either way, but I think the price tag came up a little bit because of the condensed schedule next season. The Montreal Canadiens are a little bit more desperate for solidifying their backup role behind Carey Price. A good move. He had a 2.15 goals against average last season, a .927 save percentage. Pretty solid numbers for the 30-year-old goaltender, and we'll see how things go with him in Montreal, but as of right now, a good signing for both sides. So now we look at the Montreal Canadiens bringing in, yes, they didn't get Taylor Hall. That was the big name that we were hearing for the Montreal Canadiens. We were talking about even maybe trying to go after the Quebec native in Alexis Lafreniere at the NHL draft. The Rangers keep that pick. Taylor Hall goes to Buffalo. So what other options do they have? Well, seems like Bergevin had that in mind as he signs 28-year-old forward Tyler Toffoli to a 4-year, $17 million contract. That's a $4.25 million cap hit for the next 4 seasons each year as the cap hit. This is a good signing for both sides. They were able to get a guy for under $5 million in Tyler Toffoli for an extended period of time. I think COVID obviously affected Toffoli's number. He was looking anywhere between 5 to even 7 million before the NHL trade deadline. But obviously things have changed since then. Flat cap, that thing called COVID. So there's been a couple of complications there. But he had 44 points in 68 games last season between the Los Angeles Kings and the Vancouver Canucks, who he was dealt to at the NHL trade deadline. I like that signing for both sides. The Montreal Canadiens pick up another scoring piece to add into that top 6. I like this signing for both sides. And then we look at the other big one. This was the most recent move that the Montreal Canadiens made. It was a little bit of back and forth, and it seemed like it was going to be over this relationship, and then a little bit of movement by the agent and the player. They were able to make Marc Bergevin fall under a little bit and cave in on his contract. That is Brendan Gallagher. Brendan Gallagher, 28-year-old right winger for the Montreal Canadiens, signs a 6-year, $39 million contract. I like that signing. It comes in at $6.5 million per season for Brendan Gallagher, a gritty, hard-nosed player. The Montreal Canadiens, we know how much Marc Bergevin and Jeff Molson, they all appreciate that kind of player in their organization. And that's exactly what the Montreal Canadiens signed. He got up 43 points in 59 games last season. Like I said, hard-nosed, gritty, gets in your face, a little bit of a rat, a little bit of a pest, but he puts up points as well. The Montreal Canadiens get a consistent goal scorer, can play in the top 6. He's a reliable forward, and the Montreal Canadiens signed him to a long-term deal. He's going to be 34 at the conclusion of this deal, so this is his big payday. But I like this signing for Brendan Gallagher, and what I was talking about earlier is it seemed like the Canadiens were going to trade Brendan Gallagher, as this is an extension. This kicks in next season, so he will be 35 at the conclusion of this contract. So a little bit of an interesting move and shake here by the agent of Brendan Gallagher, as well as Brendan Gallagher, as it seemed like the negotiations completely fell apart, and the next day they have a deal signed. So interesting, but I don't think Brendan Gallagher or his agent will be complaining too much. So let me know in the comment section down below, Habs fans, fans around the NHL, what do you think of these signings for the Montreal Canadiens as they try to become a cup contender, or at the very least a playoff contender every season? I think the signing of Brendan Gallagher completely changes that for them. These little moves they've made here and there, and this seems to be the icing on the cake. The Canadiens are in win now mode. You've got Carey Price. You've got a couple of solid forward pieces that you've added into Foley and Anderson. The defense is still a little bit suspect. That's something we're going to have to wait to see if the Canadiens maybe get a Mikhail Sergachev or what they do in that regard. But it's going to be interesting to see. The Habs filled out 2 of the 3 needs that they really had to address. And it's sad to say they needed to fix their entire team. But they fixed some of the forward issues. They solidified the goaltending for the next 2 years in Jake Allen. The defense, that seems to be the next thing for Marc Bergevin. So we'll see what the Canadiens do with that. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think of the Canadiens right now? And if you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe down below. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.